touchdown.
The route, and Randy Moss, without even really being able to run, as he shoots the moon to the
pass, pumps to the left, 8 seconds left. He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's caught! It's Greg Lewis! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis's first catch has given the Minnesota.
Four, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, what's up, Vikings fans? Welcome to another live show. This is House Calls with Skulldog, brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. Joining me as always is Dave. Unfortunately, we have to break down the Minnesota Vikings loss in the wild card round to the Rams. Just a complete no-show. Kick in the nuts, Dave. Absolute kick in the nuts.
It was not a bounce back. I can officially say that. I do feel like there's spots in the game where it kind of turned, and it really turned the momentum back in their favor. We weren't helped out that way, but ultimately there was some blame to go around, and we'll talk about that.
It wouldn't have mattered if that fumble, pass, whatever you want to call it, we returned that, made that a 10-10 game, because at no point during that football game was that offensive line going to block better. At no point was Sam Darnold going to start reading the field and hitting checkdowns and not take 10, 12-yard losses continually, sacks over and over. It wasn't the Vikings night, man. It was just a carbon copy of the Detroit game and just an utter failure offensively.
Well, if you're pointing out if that was a return, defensive return would have been 10-10, and there's a difference between going in, starting the second half 3 scores down than there is going in tied or 1 score down with the ball. So games do play out differently. Quarterbacks do act differently. Not saying that he would. I'm not saying anything you said was wrong, but I think it was a momentum shift. Then you throw in, they go for it on 4th down. And it was Puka Nacua that jumped and drawed our guy off sides, and they gave us a 5-yard penalty and gave him a first down. Potentially could stop him there and only give him a field goal. So they got some points that we lost some points and they gained some points that could make a difference going into the half. Is my only point.
Yeah, I refuse to blame any part of this game on the refereeing because the Vikings just got their ass kicked, and it was a beatdown. They lost by over 3 scores. Didn't play good football. And I thought that the Lions and the Rams, in all 4 losses that we've had this season, which is pretty wild that we've only lost to 2 teams this year. We just lost to the same teams twice. I thought that the Lions and the Rams just perfectly highlighted the weakness in the offense, which was attack the interior. Send blitzes up the middle, force the tackles to have one-on-ones. And when you don't have Christian Darrisaw and you have Cam Robinson, who gave up 12 pressures this game, by the way, you can't win football games that way. You just can't.
Again, 11 points is a significant number and a half. So you can say that, we lost the game, but again,
got their ass kicked. Wasn't even competitive. At no point was that game competitive.
All right.
I'm just not going to sugarcoat it.
Okay, not competitive, but fumble recovery for a touchdown tied 10-10 is competitive. But everything after that, different story, right? Everything after that, different story. Again, 11 points is a significant number in the NFL, but there's blame to go around. I'm not saying the refs lost us that game, but I don't know about where you were sitting watching that game, our fucking fan club went absolute ape shit, and from what I hear, the stadium went ape shit too
Oh yeah.
when they called that little flick a first, they called that little flick a incomplete pass. He's not looking. It's called a fumble on the field, and you can't overturn that with evidence. It's not significant of evidence to say that, hey, him not looking where he's throwing, he's being sacked, that you can just toss the ball forward and it's an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
So it is a significant play that affected the game. Now going on after that, yes, I the offensive line didn't block well, but I can compare Stafford the way he plays the game and the where Darnold plays the game. Uh, Sam, Stafford seems to know where all his players are. And
Mhm.
if he sees the rush coming, he gets it out and he'll throw it away out of bounds over their head. And I've seen that significant difference between a lot of quarterbacks and a Sam Darnold. That was my biggest complaint about Kirk Cousins in 2018 and 19 is that he wasn't ditching the ball like a Tom Brady would, or like a Aaron Rodgers would do. Sam Darnold does not have that ability. And the fact that he probably missed 2 touchdowns as a Jordan Addison that he could have had, and he's looking fucking straight at him. I don't get it. Same deal as the last game. So yeah, a lot to do with Sam Darnold. I know there's some people, this whole fire KOC thing with some same old probably people that want to come out of the word work when we fail in the playoffs to no fire KOC. That's just dumb. It's to tough to win a game when you have a game plan and your quarterback can't execute it. But again, a lot of blame will go to the offensive line. And Sam Darnold was exposed, and the fact that he needed that protection so he would settle down. He needed time to find his receivers, but he just doesn't make. And honestly, I used to have complaints with KOC and not having short passes or outlets. They were there. I'm looking at a sack, and there was TJ Hawkinson right there, just to dump it off to him. So yeah, a lot to do with Sam Darnold, the way he played, made it impossible for us to come back and for us to do our game plan.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, for him to have as many good games as he's had all season long, and then have 2 just clunkers, just looked like the old Sam Darnold, right? I don't want to say seeing ghosts because he wasn't throwing picks. He wasn't forcing things. It was the opposite. He wasn't letting the ball go. He wasn't making decisions. And to your point, knowing where your check down is when you face a blitz, it's you got to have a hot route, right? You got to be able to identify that. You got to be able to at least see that there's potential for a corner to blitz off your right side during a play action, right? So that when you turn around, you know where your outlet is if you turn around and the guy's in your lap. That's another 12-yard sack that he took. They just over and over. And to me, I mean, we might as well jump into it and start talking about the quarterback situation because we're here. To me, these last 2 games really highlighted that you shouldn't pay this guy market value just to pay him. Because if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with him. Maybe, I mean, let's say we pay him $40-ish million or whatever a year, and you backload that a little bit, and you still are able to bring in like a Trey Smith guard. We're probably still going to have to rock with Brandel at left guard in that situation, maybe even Bradbury at center. Is it enough? Like, does that improve your squad enough to improve the running game in the red zone and help Sam Darnold with protection and whatnot? I still think there's going to be the same problem, most likely. Now, he can progress in the system, but I still think this is just kind of who he is in regards to not finding his hot routes, not hitting the underneath guy.
So yeah, weighing the fact that I do put a lot of value in experience, where he has seen goodness now, and he's gone to a playoff game and saw failure. All these things could be considered a stepping stone, whether or not they're with us or with another team. It is a valuable experience. I don't buy into the fact that Oh, it wasn't worth it making the playoffs. Um, yeah, we should have just we should have just not made it. Those are the old tanking, back in the day. And I did see someone, say that like, God, we should, why is it why even bother? We just, lost the first round. Well, how do you get how do you get playoff experience? Playoff experience is a big deal. You just went on the road and got, your ass handed to you, and then, but 2022, a lot of these guys were still here. Our offense actually played good. It was our defense that sucked. Um, that you have those experiences. There's a lot of players from both those games. Now we have, guys with playoff experience. It's not successful playoff experience, but it's still, how do you prepare? And I even think it's valuable for JJ McCarthy to see what the team went through in a playoff situation. I think it was a valuable how he was able to be in that quarterback room and to help prepare teams. He sees how you need to act. I think that's invaluable. For especially for a coaching in the playoffs is invaluable. He's 0-2 now. He's got a lot of fucking motivation, and he lost to the team that he used to coach and won a Super Bowl with. There's a invaluable it's invaluable that we got that experience. As far as, you made the point. I'm kind of going on a tangent there, but Sam Darnold, you're weighing that option of, is this something that he can build off of and come back, and is he worth tagging? Is he worth paying? Nobody wants to pay him 50 million, just like nobody wanted to pay Kirk Cousins 45 million. So people going out saying, hey, and you guys wanted to pay this guy 50 million. No one wanted that. It's a straw man argument. So I'm not even sure right now that I would even be happy if we tagged him. I'm at that point because I'm like, if we built the team more, I don't think the gap is there anymore. That I felt Sam Darnold was playing at this high a level. I don't think the gap of him making up for the improvement in offensive line or a D line would make up for would be that surmountable to playing a JJ McCarthy and giving him experience going into a playoff with 10 or 11 wins and having him have it, or maybe, who knows, maybe he has a Sam Darnold year. I don't think it's that insurmountable that I would want him back.
I agree with you. Right now, I'd be okay with the tag and trade, obviously.
Oh yeah,
right? Get something for him. But I don't want to pay Sam Darnold like market money. Like, if you sign him to a 2 to 3 year extension that has like low money next year, so you can still build a hell of a roster around him, that's more acceptable to me, but still not ideal, right? Because now we're still just eating into JJ McCarthy's rookie contract. Like, I'd rather just
like the offer they gave like Kirk Cousins, like
right.
probably 38-40 million, second year barely guaranteed, like 10 million guaranteed.
That basically a Baker Mayfield type deal. And
that was even less.
Yeah. So I'm just not about that right now after seeing those two games. I'd much rather just roll with Daniel Jones. Sign Daniel Jones to that bridge quarterback contract, the same Sam Darnold $10 million contract or something like that, and roll with JJ McCarthy, and let them battle it out in the summer.
Have an open competition.
Yeah, exactly. And hope that JJ steps up and takes that job. But if he doesn't, that's fine too.
Yeah, I'm before the season, I don't know if you I don't remember when we started, but before the season I was all about JJ McCarthy. I want him to win the job because I want I want this year to be his experience. Of course, that was nixed when he got injured. But yeah, I'll be in the same situation. I'll be in the same if we did that, which I'm cool with. I'll be like, all right, I want an open competition. JJ McCarthy wins that job, he wins the job. Flat out. Don't do this. Bring him along slowly shit. He's already been a year in the league. Sure he doesn't got, preseason is gonna be enough. Start him if he's ready. Okay. I want the full season. I think 2 years ago I had said that 2024 was going to be a peak year for us because I thought we would still have Kirk Cousins because of 2022. But but after he was gone, I'm saying that 2025 was going to be a peak year because we're going to get the rookie. He's going to be 2 years in, and he's going to have all that free agent money. So do not waste this. Do not waste this year of JJ McCarthy if you move on, if you completely move on from Sam. I want him to win that job. Make it an open competition, and I believe he wins the job.
I'll be rooting for it. I would love to watch JJ play football. But at the same time, I wholeheartedly trust Kevin O'Connell with this decision. Kevin O'Connell has earned our trust. And to your point earlier about people bitching about him being 0-2 in the playoffs, there's plenty of examples of great coaches with poor playoff records. And it takes time. And guess what? You're playing against really good teams in the playoffs. So I'm not completely letting Kevin O'Connell off the hook. I would have liked to seen some adjustments a little bit sooner, some of the short stuff, getting the ball out a little bit quicker last night. But we've talked about how I just have no confidence in their ability to run the football. And I don't really care that he abandons the run too soon because they can't run the fucking football because they don't have the interior offensive line to run the football. They don't even have a left tackle right now who's good at run blocking. So it's just a lost cause, man. Like this offseason to me is about how do you revamp that offensive line, especially if you're going to JJ McCarthy, protect that kid and give him a chance to run the football, make his life easier. You know what I mean? Like in my mind, hell, Kevin O'Connell came out after the game and indicted the interior offensive line saying they got it. We got to do something. They got to be better than that. So I think Trey Smith is a Minnesota Viking. He's the top guard on the free agent market. I think they're going to pay that dude. They have to.
Yeah, I mean, I put out like priorities. I didn't put quarterback as one because I'm like, turn it over to JJ. It's a simple switch. But that O line was the number one choice, and we need to replace all three positions. I still feel like they're going to just keep our center. I don't know. Maybe it is just one guard. It wouldn't matter a big difference with if Darisaw was playing. That would be a huge difference. Now, just a thing here, drafting Daniels or May will be not being able to draft Daniels or May. I don't think those teams are wanting to give up those spots. It was one of those things they were taking calls, but
they weren't
getting the number one.
No. So the Bears, obviously they made the decision months before their pick that they were taking Caleb Williams. The Commanders knew that they were taking Jaden Daniels months before the draft, and the Patriots acted like they were taking serious calls, but they weren't.
I don't think any of it was serious.
The Vikings offered a hell of a package to them by most accounts, and they said no. And so, I mean, the Vikings wanted Drake May. That's not a secret.
Yeah.
So they ended up with JJ McCarthy.
I don't know if again, I felt pretty good about it. Obviously, on record of that, but also getting Dallas Turner, and I know people are again hard on him after the game, but it's like, okay, still 22, and he's had good play earlier, so I'm not too worried. Just we're comparing him to Verse right now, and he's like 2 years older than him.
Kevin O'Connell has had such a phenomenal first 3 years as the Vikings head coach that again, it doesn't bother me that we're 0-2 in the playoffs. Is it ideal? No, of course not. But to have a 13-win season and a 14-win season in your first 3 years, and by the way, your second season was derailed by your starting quarterback getting injured. This guy's a really good damn coach. So to Purple Pessimist, and I know that's his shtick, right? The Purple Pessimist.
That was pretty pessimistic.
Yeah, it is. Like to see that you could be looking for a new head coach, I really doubt it. I think they're going to sign Kevin O'Connell to a 4 or 5 year extension, pay him all the money, and it would take a catastrophe to fire him after the 2026 season.
So he's had a 14-win season with a good defense and a 13-win season with historically Viking bad defense. And honestly, he would have made the playoffs last year if we continued with Kirk Cousins at the helm. There's no way we lose that Bears game or Denver game. We would have been 8-4. It's like I just feel like it easily been 8-4, and just all we have to do is win 2 more games. And then we almost beat the Lions. We could have beat the Lions with a backup QB. So it's like unfortunate, right? But even with the losing season, he's still got one of the best records of any coach the first 3 years of his career in history. It's insane how good a run he's had. I think again he's my forever coach. So I'm sorry that 27 might be 2057 with him retiring as a Viking, in my opinion. I think he's that good, and he has a personality to recruit. He has relationships. He's fostering them. That's how we got Flores to come here. I do think we're going to lose Flores. I really do, and I'm not totally sad. I mean, and I'm not going to be totally sad about it because I feel like we if we get a lockdown corner, that will go a long ways to solidifying a defense is more it can be more consistent. He's had some bad games. Not no lying there. There's some bad games last year. There's been some bad stretches. This year was a lot more consistent. I did like that, but yeah, I just assume Flores is gone at this point. What do you think about that?
I don't think Flores is leaving. What job would you think that Flores is taking?
We haven't not everybody's been fired yet.
I
I don't
think
know.
it's pretty well set now. The Cowboys' job is open, but they haven't requested Flores. Flores has been requested for, I believe, the Raiders' job, the Jets' job, the Bears' job, and is there one more that I'm missing? The Jags? Did they request Flores? I don't know about the Jags. Don't know about that one.
All right, he's back then.
So I don't think he's taken the Jets job, which is what I'm getting at, because he said the situation would have to be good enough for him to leave Minnesota. I don't think that Jets job is worth taking. The Raiders job concerns me too because they don't really have a quarterback right now unless they're the team that tags and trades for Sam Darnold. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out, but they're going all in on Ben Johnson. We'll see if they are able to pull that off. I just don't think that Flores is going to get one of these jobs, although he is getting the interviews. And by the way, I don't think the Bears are going to hire him. That's just a terrible marriage for Caleb Williams.
It would be.
I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm a little bit more optimistic that Brian Flores is coming back to the Vikings.
Can't disagree with it, but I'm just kind of like sold on the fact that if he's gone, I'm not devastated. Just because I think I think Quasey's worked well with getting players in to help a defense, and just Donashell wasn't good at just wasn't good at coaching, and unfortunately he drafted and picked players up for that defense that just didn't exist. It was that's why we call it a shell. It was a shell of a defense.
Nope.
But I feel pretty comfortable if we get a coordinator in. Now that is a problem if he does get a job and we're late in the year. Who are we gonna get? Everybody's already picked a coach. It would be beneficial if Flores goes back. I don't want him gone. I want a third year from that dude, just because I don't think he got all his players yet, and I think after this year he'll get his players.
I agree with you. I think that to Purple Pessimist point there, he's adapted to his personnel. I don't think we'll get a coach who could maximize their players as much as he did. I agree with that. Brian Flores is the machine behind this defense that makes it all go, right? He's the mastermind. He's using smoke and mirrors to create chaos, and I think that's him. And I'm not sure how much a hire from within would be able to do the same shit that he does. Although I do feel like they're probably elevating Durante Jones as the defensive coordinator. I think the hire would come from within because they would want an understudy to keep this style of defense. And the style of defense is rare. Who else runs it in the NFL?
And what gets me hope is like when Zimmer went down with his eye injury, he had to sit out a game, and his D coordinator took over the play calling duties. And he actually coached. He actually had one of the best defensive games I've ever seen from that coach. But yeah, I think a hire within, got some guy in the system could be a potentially good move, but sometimes the real deal, like we hired Donashell because he was in a system that everybody liked, and he was like a protege type of coach that, oh yeah, he'll bring that same type of defense, and it didn't happen. So I'm a little weary of that, but Flores in a third year would be pretty epic. I think we have to rely. I think early on in JJ McCarthy, relying on the defense a little bit would be important. And you talked about, and we might as well talk about it now, running game. You brought it up. Building, he says he prioritized the run game last year, prioritized again. It's improved. Not enough, I don't think, and definitely in goal line or red zone or short yardage and red zone. Um, Partially due to the kind of plays he calls in the red zone and the in short yardage. But I would I want a guy that can move the pile. I don't mind having like Cam Akers come back and move on from Aaron Jones, get a lead back, bring a Cam Akers back as a second back, or Aaron Jones split. But bring a guy in that can run the ball, but it will center around revamping that offensive line interior.
100%. I much less care about who's carrying the football, and I just want just ass kickers on the front, right? I want our line to look more like what that Eagles line looks like. I want size. I want nasty fucking dudes on that line who will just give it to you all game long and wear you down. And in the fourth quarter, you want no part of it. And I want to be look what Detroit's doing, man. Look what they were able to do it against us in that fourth quarter with Gibbs. Like, I want to be able to run the ball in the red zone. And if you're able to do that, you're going to make life so much easier for J.J. McCarthy. You're going to make life so much easier for Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, right? Because right now they're getting doubled all the time because we see all these too high safeties that teams are playing against us. And you got to be able to run the football and get them out of that and see some more closed field opportunities that Justin Jefferson can go off for 80-yard touchdowns. So
2009. We go up to line of scrimmage. We had a quarterback smart enough in Favre to go up there with a run play, switch it to pass when they saw that they were loading the box against Adrian Peterson. But people would fear, it does matter. A good running back or a guy that can move the pile does make a difference. Now, does it rely on the offensive line? Yeah. Now, as far as big offensive line, Jason Kelsey he's 290. He was 295, so he was smaller than our center. But the was a badass, strong as fuck, and just technique wise, and just explosiveness and brains and all that. But size does make up for some things. I want some strong dudes. I don't want guys playing out of position like we got at left guard. And Dalton Reisner, like he's a guy that's good enough. He's good enough. I don't want good enough anymore. I want people movers. This is a team that had so many good skill positions that just does not have the interior line on both sides of the ball. Now, the defensive side, Redmond may come around, might be that guy where we don't need as many, but we need to just go get that D tackle, nose tackle difference maker, and we may fix that D line immediately. Offensive line's a different story. There's three guys there that we need upgrades from to be a dominant offense, and especially to help out a young guy like McCarthy.
Yeah, to your point, we have like great run defenders on the defensive line at the defensive tackle position, but we have nobody who can pass rush and win quickly. And that is such a big need for this team. Someone who can create pressure in the middle of the defense. That's huge. Like you just nailed that perfectly about how
I spit gold here.
This team is built from back to front when we really need to build this team a little bit more in the trenches to allow your skill positions to affect the game more, right? It's great that we have the best receiver in football. How much did he really affect the football game last night? Not a whole hell of a lot, right?
Not a lot. No.
Not a lot. It sucks. And he deserves that. That's the big stage. He deserves to be able to make plays. But he just didn't have time to get the damn football, and he's getting double, triple covered because you don't have a run game that they have to respect. So
this is how inept Sam was, is that he couldn't even throw screen passes.
Right.
And he didn't even pull the trigger on one to Justin
Right.
Jefferson.
Well, that was a fake screen, by the way.
Oh,
That was one of
was
those
that?
things where they were trying to set up TJ Hawkinson on the wheel route there, and then they had Naylor coming over on like a deep
right.
dig. But
It
you're
wasn't
right.
on you, Sam.
But no, I mean, you are right, though. You have pressure. Where's your outlet? It's Justin Jefferson standing with nobody
Right.
around him in the flat. Throw the football. Like, so no, you are right, but it wasn't the way they made it seem like on TV where it was just immediate read. That wasn't exactly true.
Yeah, when I couldn't hear it, and yeah, I'm in a bar, so.
Right.
But they show a
So
big picture of Justin Jefferson standing there looking like he's going, what the fuck?
let's pull up Purple Pessimist's latest comment on the screen. I actually talked about this today on Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah. So he said, let's draft Booker from Bama, big ass guard at 24 overall. He's a big interior offensive line guy. And then day 2, get 2 running backs from OSU. So I said this today. I said, go out and sign Trey Smith. And would anybody else be upset if we took a guard at 24? I know it's not a high priority position in the NFL, guard in the first round. That's not sexy. But if you look at the state of the offensive line and you put those 2 big ass dudes next to Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill, we might be cooking with gasoline, fellas. That would be pretty fun. I asked Thor what he thought about this. He's my draft guy that I kind of lean on. And he said that although Booker is colossal, he's built like a brick shithouse. He's huge. He didn't see him being the type of talent that he would take in the first round. So he saw him more of a second round type guy. That's just his opinion. So, whatever. Thor's very big on corner or defensive tackle in the first round based on how the draft is kind of stacking up there. But
I don't have an opinion yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't even look at college football until I go back and look after the season's over, and I just start watching players in the top of their position, where they'd fall and stuff like that. And I go look at people's like mock drafts, and then I go start watching videos of where about we were picking, and I'll start looking at players in that spot. One of the reasons why I totally missed on Jordan Addison is I thought he was going earlier, and I didn't bother looking at him. But I think I responded, I just want a starter.
Mm-hmm.
I just want a guy to start because that's how it hasn't been. Like, so, Scene is gone. JJ McCarthy didn't play, but obvious reasons. And Dallas Turner, barely played this year. I want a guy come in and make a difference right away. That would be especially you have to hit with you only have 3 picks right now. It might change, but and then to bring up Purple Pessimist saying is we might trade those picks to get more picks because we want to be able to. We don't want to rely necessarily on the UDFA's. That was the whole reason with Zimmer, not Zimmer, but Spielman would trade and get those 7th round picks is because he had control. They had to come play for us instead of trying to get them in UDFA. He would draft those guys instead of try to get them as UDFA's. Now, obviously, Kwesi's been hitting on UDFA's, and we are a destination franchise, and we do have holes. So it's like, they might come to us, but you're not going to just rely on that when you only have 3 picks. There's going to be some trading down.
Yeah, we might
trade down and you get your guard.
Yeah. I would not be surprised at all if the Vikings traded out of the first round this year. So if you're planning on going to the draft party, just know that that's a possibility. They currently don't have a 2nd round pick. Now we'll see if they tag and trade Darnold, can they get a 2nd? But right now they don't have a 2nd. My dream scenario right now, I don't think there's any chance in hell that it's going to happen, but my dream scenario is Ashton Jeanty. If he can fall down to 24, you run that card up there and you have a Gibbs type running back in Minnesota to pair with Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
He's being mocked right now, by the way, around like 10, 11, 12, like to Dallas is the most common place where he's going in mocks.
In his last game might have helped us a little bit. Skull Freddy, thanks for joining. Make sure if you're not subscribed, just subscribe.
What's up, Freddy?
Now, yeah, I mean, Purple, you and me, Purple Pessimist, we're both kind of agree there. If someone didn't fall to us, I have no problem. If like some guy that just can't pass up, then you draft him. If there is a bunch of players that are just, if we fall down 10 spots, I'm not going to hurt because I like these guys here too. And we're going to get 2 more picks in this draft. I don't mind it so bad. I don't mind it so bad. But yeah, if there's a guy there, you got to get him. There's no passing him up. And I think we felt like that was Jordan Addison. That was, God, if we fucked up, didn't get Darrisaw, we fucked up and didn't get Justin Jefferson. We traded down. I want to screw around if there's a guy there. If there's a guy there, I don't screw around.
No, I agree. This defense or this draft is supposed to be deep in some of the positions that we need, such as corner and running back, interior defensive tackle. So, and I believe interior offensive line as well. So it kind of lines up perfectly from what I've heard so far regarding the Vikings' needs. So we're going to get into draft season. We're going to be doing some mock drafts on our show. I love draft season. We'll get Thor on the show at some point in time. We'll get Forno on the show. I love draft season.
Yeah. So you're saying Walter Nolan from Ole Miss? I'll have to take a look.
I honestly don't even know who that is right now.
Yeah. Again, I don't. I had to give up a certain aspect of my life. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I can't name a single player on that team. Because 3 years ago, when I started a YouTube channel, I had to stop watching college football because I had to spend time with my family on Saturdays because I was watching football on Sundays, no matter what.
I know that Notre Dame has a top corner prospect. I think his name is Benjamin Morrison, and he was supposed to be like a top 10 type of pick, but he got hurt this year. So that's a guy to look out for. I think he was mocked actually to number 23 to the Packers in a recent mock draft that I looked at. If he's a name, though, that's available for the Vikings at 24, that's a guy I think they should take a look at.
Yeah, and there's a Notre Dame guy last year that we passed on. We could have picked him up. I don't know how well he did this year, but as I didn't pay attention. But Kyrie Jackson was picked late, 4th round, right? That's the type of guy. What would it be different going into next year if we had Kyrie Jackson? When I went back and looked at him, I was like, he's at worst a 2nd round pick, but had all the intangibles to be a 1st round pick and long, just good reaction. He just played so hard at Oregon, overcame adversity throughout his life, changed as a person, I think, as far as his motivation. And Kwesi to find guys like that, like a Blackman, and keep in mind Blackman's coming back. But a Kyrie Jackson, his ability to find corners later in the draft has just been pretty good.
100%. I know that people are frustrated with the whole Dallas Turner thing. Guys, I can't stress enough. He was 21 years old. He's still not 22. He's a kid still. He does not have an NFL body. He was a project when you drafted him. Be patient. Next year, we should definitely see that snap percentage coming up. And when we have Turner rocking with Grenard and Van Ginkel on the field together, it's going to be frightening for defenses. Just hold on. Have some patience, please.
Purple Pessimist, no. I would not want to. I'm nope.
No.
They're playing
They're
out
Pro Bowlers. They're great.
Yeah. I don't. So we have, if it was a different story, we don't have cap problem this year. So yeah, we're keeping our talent. Keeping our talent.
They're in their prime. They're Pro Bowl players. We're going to hold on to them. Yeah, we talked about this, Harambe. The personnel is not conducive to running the football. Why the hell are we going to keep banging our head against the wall when we know it's not going to work? Running game this year was a joke inside the red zone. And you probably missed my dissertation 10 minutes ago about how badly this team needs to find and pay a kick-ass guard like Trey Smith from Kansas City. They got the money to do it this offseason. This team has, for the last 12 years since we had Steve Hutchinson, refused to address the guard situation, and they just put in a bunch of shit in that position for years and years. It's time to stop neglecting it. Just pay.
A little devil's advocate there. I think it was last year and the year before, every single player on our on our, because we weren't different. We had a different left guard. Every single player on our offensive line was a first or second round pick. So we did address the line. We just missed. That was the problem. We were missing. First round pick at center he's not a first round pick, obviously. He's more like a fourth or fifth round talent. But a good, an average starting center at best. But yeah, every single guy on the first, like last year, even Ed Ingram, and we had left guard. We traded, right. We traded our left guard away. Those guys were second round picks. And then our left tackle's a first round pick, and our right tackle's a second round pick, and our center's a first round pick. So we did try to address it. We just kind of failed. And we didn't take a dive into free agency because we're too proud. And the same problem I was complaining about Ed Ingram, we just weren't replacing him. We finally did. I think it was a net positive when we replaced him, I feel, with Reisner. But yeah, we've addressed it with first and second round picks. We just were missing, is the way I felt.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We had to play a guy out of position. We had a left tackle playing left guard. Yeah. 2 years in a row. 3 years in a row now.
Yep. Someone asked, do you think it's in the range of outcomes for Daniel Jones to start next season? Yes, we do, Freddie. We talked about this earlier in the show, where if it was up to us, I think we talked about how we would both prefer to move on from Sam Darnold and have JJ McCarthy hopefully win that job next year, but we would both rather bring Daniel Jones back at a much lesser pay, a contract, than what it would cost to get Darnold back in the building. Do you agree, Dave?
And I brought it up earlier in the year, or earlier after we got him, signed him, is that he would, I think, benefit from playing for us, in the fact that he is, it's a rookie, and rookies have been getting hurt, and guys have been stepping in for him, and he can get some game tape and get that third contract with another team, just like Sam Darnold may be getting here. So it really behooved him to stay and not go compete somewhere else for a job, to come here with a rookie. The only guy in front of him is a rookie. I think a guy looking for a job and your only competition is a guy hasn't played it down. Yeah, I think that's favorable for him. It would benefit us. I think both, like I just said earlier in the show, is that I expect JJ McCarthy to win that job. I want it to be an open competition. And if he doesn't, Daniel Jones being our backup spine, I'm not, and I feel like I'm the only one that doesn't like our current backup quarterback, or that does like our current backup quarterback. Because every time he goes in there, he throws he gets a first down for us. He's always ready. He's always ready. And when he comes in and he seems prepared and he knows the offense, the only thing wrong with him is no mobility. He's not tall, and he has a pretty below average arm, but he's always ready and knows the offense. And I feel that's great for a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. Let's bring up Andrew's comment, if you don't mind. Andrew Isham. Let's be real. Who did we beat other than the Packers? Does any part of you, Dave, feel like this was a fraudulent type season?
No.
I don't either. So this team had over 100-point differential.
Texas just won a playoff game.
They had a top 5 defense, they had a top 10 offense this year. They were a very good team this year. That
healthy San Fran game.
Healthy San Fran beat the Texans. They had some good wins this year. Now, there's a point in the middle there where you would have liked to see them roll over the Titans, the Jaguars, the Bears, maybe a little bit more than what they did. And that's kind of where that narrative came in, that they weren't this strong team. But shit, dude, any team that wins 8 games in a row in a season is a good football team, right? You can't be that fluky. Come on. So, yeah. No, I don't think they're fraudulent. I think that this is all able to be built upon. I do think that there's weaknesses on the roster that obvious good teams like the Lions and the Rams were able to exploit. That's what we've been talking about. That's what we want to fix. That's why this offseason is so damn exciting with 70+ million in cap space. And I saw a graph that came out the other day that showed the Vikings actually lead the NFL in effective cap space, meaning that once they clear more numbers, like what if Harrison Smith retires and, a couple other names that they can restructure, they're going to have a bunch of money to spend. And to see what Kwesi and company were able to do with much less cap space this offseason, how effective they were able to be and to use that space to add more difference makers to this team. I'm excited about next year. And yes, T Cubes and Purple Pessimists were talking in the comments about, you're talking about starting a rookie quarterback potentially next year in JJ McCarthy. Everyone's going to have to lower their expectations. Don't expect another 14 game
Yeah, that's what I was saying,
season.
10, 11 wins.
Yeah,
and that's my lower expectations.
It's still going to be a good team. Like, how JJ McCarthy just has to drive the car, guys. And I think he's talented enough to drive the car. I absolutely do. People talk about him in the comments like he didn't throw the football in college. Relatively, he threw the ball less than like a Penix, but he still threw the damn ball, and he was very efficient when he threw the ball, and he
only had
wins.
3 quarters.
Everywhere he goes, he fucking wins. He won in high school. He won a game in Nazareth, 20 minutes down the street from where I live right now in Lyons Township. He won in Florida in high school when he went to that private school for a year. Then he won a goddamn national championship. Like, he wins. This kid's
2
aura,
national championships. High school's national championship too.
This kid's aura, like everything he like stands for or whatever, like the way that he just represents himself, it's positive, man. Like, I'm excited for this. We should be excited.
Yeah, I think Alper, we talked about sign and trade. One of the things there is that you got to have it. You got to have your trading partner before you sign. Do the you sign them to a tag. You gotta tag. You gotta know who you're trading before you tag him. Otherwise, if you've tagged him, then you have no leverage other than maybe they want him, but do they want him that bad? What are they willing to give up? So you have to try to have competition there before you tag him, in my opinion. He's saying I never said they were frauds. Schedule help compensate these wins. It's just my opinion. I get it.
Yeah.
When situation, the guy can't convert third downs, had to throw the ball. It was 3rd and 8 situation. I'm not sure. Sorry. But yeah, I think that's the main thing is who's going to quarterback next year. I think I was okay. I was literally okay no matter what they chose, right? Now I'm leaning to where I would be slightly disappointed if JJ McCarthy wasn't starting next year, first game. And that's coming from a guy who was pissed that he wasn't going to be starting the first game of the year to, wow, Sam Darnold's playing fucking good. This is like, wow, we would have never known this if JJ McCarthy would have started, to now I'm back and to where it's like, it was so bad that the last 2 games that it's worth exploring somewhere else, and I'll be disappointed if we didn't go JJ and build a team around him.
How do you feel about, let me ask you this. How do you feel about Daniel Jones's ceiling? If let's say they, for whatever reason, it's Daniel Jones season next season with KOC and offense and company, how would you feel about his ceiling in this system versus what we saw from Darnold?
I think, honestly, Sam Darnold showed us that he could play. I think seeing what Sam Darnold could do, I feel like he would surpass Daniel Jones.
Got it. So I don't necessarily believe in Daniel Jones's ability to be accurate down the football field. I think short and intermediate, he could be better than what we've seen from Darnold, and his mobility is much better.
Mobile. Yeah.
He's much more mobile. He's legit like fast. But I still think he has processing issues and whatnot. But I wouldn't put it past KOC to turn Daniel Jones into the next, reclamation project that gets him paid. I just wanted to get your idea as to where do those guys sit on the spectrum. I think they're actually pretty close to each other.
They're not far off, I don't think. Well, just because Sam, his history shows that he's not very good prior to coming to us. And again, shout out to KOC for finding out he's a big play quarterback, and honestly doesn't know his hot routes or his checking the ball. And I think this is a wake up call for some people that were like always pissed that called Kirk Cousins captain check down when the stats actually showed that he threw the ball downfield quite a bit, actually, like top 10. That's what I talk about is we throw checkdowns because there's a lot of factors going on, and it's positive yardage. Um, that wasn't happening with Sam. That wasn't happening with Sam or KOC. We were living and dying on the big play. That's why he was 8 yards an attempt this year. It's 2 yards more than he had been almost. It's like, yeah, there's a big difference with that. And I think based on what I've seen so far of JJ McCarthy, I think he's a decision maker. He's a quick decision maker. I think he's gonna make those plays. He's got a strong enough arm. I don't like the fact he's smaller than a Sam. He's gonna be a smallish quarterback. But he's so athletic, and I think he's a cheat code in scrambling. I do.
Yeah, he's fast.
I think he's incredibly amazing at that sixth sense of pocket awareness. And I don't think Sam Darnold is bad at it. I just think he's just holding on to the ball way too much.
Yeah. He doesn't move as well as JJ McCarthy.
Oh, he doesn't. And again, the thing is that 3-cone drill, he had one of the elite 3-cone drills in that combine. And I feel that's huge in short area quickness. And that's where JJ McCarthy's got it in spades. And then you throw in that he's got one of the strongest arms, probably in the NFL. I wish he had bigger hands, but I think that matters, especially in the cold games.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think he's got a lot of intangibles. He's an inch or 2 inches shorter than I want him to be, and he's about 20 pounds lighter than I want him to be. But I think he makes up for it with a lot of other intangibles.
He's 6'3", I think, so that's fine.
Is it 6'3"? I
think he's 6'3".
He just looks shorter.
Let's pull up.
Bad.
Let's pull
he's
up.
An inch shorter than I want him to be.
Yeah. Let's pull up Purple Pessimist comment. I think next year will be an 8-win season, barely missing the playoffs. So I have the Vikings 2025 opponents here. At home, they're going to play, of course, Packers, Lions, and Bears. Now, it says here that they're also going to be playing the Eagles, the Commanders, so 2 NFC playoff teams, the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Falcons. That's a pretty damn tough home schedule there. And then away games, Packers, Lions, Bears, Giants, that's a win. Cowboys, Steelers, Browns, Seahawks, of course, and Chargers. It's a tough schedule next year.
It is.
On paper.
We looked at this season as a tough schedule.
We did. There's a lot of playoff teams on the docket for next year. A lot of playoff teams.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a tough schedule.
I've always looked at it like this. Next year's about getting JJ McCarthy actual in-game experience. Make the playoffs or not, I want to see progression, and I want to see him show some signs that he is the guy, right? Continue to get better and show that he can run the offense and really support Justin Jefferson and Addison in a high-octane type offense, even if the running game takes a step forward. But really, it's about 2027 in my mind. That's when JJ McCarthy has more experience and when this roster is ready to truly pop. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's progression, and a season like this is like you get better, and you end up getting pleasantly surprised by a 14-win season. And that's why I just don't get where people go into the season with low expectations, like really low expectations, and we get 14-3, and then they're pissed off that we didn't win at all after that. I'm like, yeah, I think we were playing with house money a little bit here. We had a $72 million dead cap hit, and we went 14-3 with a bust at quarterback. I'm cool with making the playoffs this year based on what happened. If you guys weren't here, I was talking about any experience matters when you get to the playoffs. We have two of the last 3 years making the playoffs. One we played better than the other, but we can take that as a stepping stool. And even the fact that JJ McCarthy got to experience that going on a road game, seeing how you prepare for it, I think goes a big way. And I bet 5-10 years from now, he's going to say, being able to being that fly on the wall for that first year of my career, it was a good experience for me. I 100% he's going to be talking about that in 5-10 years when he's got 3 rings or 4 rings.
Yep.
More than the Packers. Let's go get more than the Packers.
Yes, sir. Freddie was saying he's baffled at how badly KOC and Darnold performed the last two games. And then I responded in the comments, I was baffled how the offensive line had their best pass blocking performance in week 17 in Minnesota against the Packers. Darnold throws for 377, multiple touchdowns. And then the offensive line just forgot how to block entirely the next 2 weeks. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's frustrating to think about. I'm moving on to Cincinnati. I'm done with that game. Fuck that game.
Riveting. Is he yawning?
I'm not sure what that emote is there.
Is he talking shit? Yeah, he's yawning. Someone's sarcastic. All right, MSR, we'll try to wake you up. Was O'Neal also getting bullied? Yes. And I think someone brought it up that the best way to play him is to power move him. I think that the first sack of the game, I felt like the guy had his hands in O'Neal's face and it didn't get called. But yeah, they were bull rushing O'Neal, and yeah, he got bullied a little bit. If you go look at him, he doesn't got the hugest anchor in the world. He's pretty skilled though.
Yeah, I agree.
They mad because they team embarrassed the fan base for the last two games on national stage. We would have been different if they had been competitive in both games.
Mm-hmm.
Water's wet news. Yeah, water's wet news. Yeah, it would have been different if we weren't completely. Now, shout out to the defense. They played their ass off for a little bit there, and then just offense giving up pick sixes and going for a fourth and not getting it midfield. It's like, what do you do? What can you do if defense was after the initial start, and a hell of a throw by Stafford. I forget it was over Cashman, I think, and just perfect throw down the field in that first drive. I just felt the defense was settling down, and then they looked pissed off after that. The touchdown didn't happen, and they gave them that forward pass. I felt like the defense didn't get. It wasn't our defense. I just don't feel like it was our defense that caused us these two losses.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I think me and Skoldoc disagree a little bit on this, but I agree with you, Freddie. I think it was a huge change. Mindset of we would have been tied at that point. Big difference moving forward. We would not be down 3 scores going into half. I just feel it was a big difference in the game. Different mindset.
The Manning brothers did agree that that's a fumble all day, every day. And they didn't think it would get overturned, but then Bill Belichick is like, yeah, I think they're going to overturn this. And then they overturned it, and Bill's like, told you. He's like, the rules are made for offense. That's what Bill said. The rules are made for offense. So my point earlier, guys, was that I had judging by how that offensive line played all game, judging by how Sam Darnold played all game, even if we tied that game up at that point, I was jumping up and down. I was yelling. I was excited. But just 2020, hindsight, based on how they played that game, I don't think the Vikings would have won the game even if we tied it up there. That's just how I feel. And I know what your point is. I understand that it changes the game script, and now you're not playing from behind. And I get all that. I'm just saying that defensive line whooped our ass all game. Yes, it's not a blowout probably. I just don't think that we can let them off the hook just because that call didn't go our way. It was terrible performance.
I think people are licking our wounds. I think we feel like we got our ass beat. I think a lot of people would be like, that was a huge change. And where I disagree with Belichick is that then any player can just throw it blindly forward and hope there's a fucking player there. I think there's got to be intent there. And the fact that it was called a fumble, and the fact if you go look at it, he's not looking anywhere and the ball just leaves his hand. How do you not say that a purpose, you can't, and also is against the rules to actually on purpose fumble the ball, because there's a game back in the 70s where the guy scored a touchdown at the end of the game because he purposely fumbled the ball when he was short of the goal line, and it went into the end zone, and their own guy fell on it and scored a touchdown. So you can't purposely, fumble the ball either. But just to look, I just don't see how you can say you look at the thing and that's definitive evidence that there was a
Yeah.
pass there. It's like
Yeah.
anytime the ball gets fumbled, goes forward, is as long as his hand is moving forward, it's a pass. Unless there's someone there, unless there's someone not there, then it's intentional grounding. But at no point can it be a fumble. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And then not to be able to call it intentional grounding, because of stupid ass rules where you're like, oh, because we reviewed it, now we can't call it intentional grounding. It's just dumb.
Well, there was a guy there.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, but the spirit of the rule, it goes
I
back
know.
to the Detroit game. Oh, there was a guy there when Goff was getting tanked into the back of the end zone. He
Yeah, it
threw
was
it
a
at
bad
his
call.
guard's ass, right? It's
Yeah, I
just
get
dumb.
you can't. It's just basically every play that the hands moving forward. That's a pass, and it can't be a fumble. It can't be a fumble. It just don't make any fucking sense.
It's dumb. But like you were saying earlier, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, these guys know where their outlets are at all times. Stafford's getting
Probably knew
sacked,
there was a guy
looking
there.
at the ground. He knew where Puka was. He
Yeah.
throws it out in the area of Puka while he's looking at his shoelaces. Like, the dude, that's incredible. That's what you should be able to do.
A lot of respect for Stafford the last two games I've seen him
Hell
play
yeah.
against us.
Still a stud.
There was a time where people were like, that we were going to trade Sam Darnold for Stafford back when they were losing.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't have been too bad of an idea because Stafford looked pretty freaking good. Again, I know that people were saying that he was one of the worst quarterbacks against pressures. I think it's a completion thing, right? You have to, your quarterback rating during pressures or whatever. Well, he throws the ball away.
It was a conundrum because he's very, very good against the blitz, but bad against pressure. So if you blitz, you better get to him because when he diagnoses the blitz, and which we saw routinely, I think I saw something like,
I don't see him having a problem with it.
The Vikings blitzed him 18 times. He was like 16 of 18 with 2 touchdowns or something. Maybe stop fucking blitzing that guy. Don't blitz that guy.
Yeah, the first time I saw him, it's not a problem for him, and the second time we played him, not a problem for him.
No, Freddie, we have not talked, and you asked a question earlier. Have we guys addressed the lack of hurry up offense in the second half? It was weird. Do you have a take on that? I just kind of felt like, go ahead. What's your take?
So when you're behind 2 or 3 scores, you need that first one. So it's a point that you got to get that first one or it doesn't fucking matter. And I feel like that's what they were doing. And when you're at 6 minutes left, you got to get that next one. I just wouldn't have ran the ball though. I just wouldn't have ran the ball ever.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it was like a short yardage or whatever. And I know we did that, and I think Cam Akers didn't get it, and then we had to do the quarterback sneak, and we got it. But I'm not running the ball there. I'm still hurt. I'm still going no huddle. I think Kirk Cousins would have been no huddle this whole game. He just showed that he did that with Kevin O'Connell. He was no huddle late in games, especially in 22. I don't know why he didn't go no huddle there. It's been our experience with Kevin O'Connell that he was able with his quarterback to do no huddle. It doesn't mean you don't. It doesn't mean no huddle. You're not prepared for anything. Huddling up is just making sure everybody's on the same page, and you're not in a hurry. You're taking time getting up the line. I just think you got to be in no huddle. Take 10 seconds or whatever, 15 seconds to hike the ball, but hike it with less than 15 seconds left. And be passing the ball. Your running game should be your screen game or your check down game. That's how you should get your short yardage instead of these running the ball. I should have just absolutely abandoned the run at that point. So but anytime you come out and you're down like 3 scores, I don't think you should be hurrying up. You need to get that first score. You're down 2 now. And then look to start to hurry up. Unless it's a change of pace too. Maybe you feel like, hustling a little bit would be good. I think like that first drive got stalled because of a sack, right?
That sounds right. Yes. They had to punt. Yep. My my conspiracy theory was that at that point in the game, you said there was like 6 minutes left. They were down like 3 scores. It almost seemed like he already knew it was over just because of the way that they couldn't protect and Sam wasn't identifying things. And they went more to like the short passing game and whatnot. I almost wondered if he started calling that game with in mind of just like, let's get out of this without tearing an ACL or something, without like suffering some catastrophic injury because this game is over. It almost looked like they threw in the towel, did it not?
There's not enough time. And again, you got to get the first score before you get the second. That's the way I looked at it. I wasn't as mad as most people probably were. I was a little frustrated, but I wasn't. I was understanding that you got to get that first score before you get the third one.
Yeah. Will Raggets had a tweet last night, like at the end of the game, like questioning why they're running the football or something like that. And I responded to him. I was like, oh, like if only you had an occupation where you could ask the coach this after the game. You know what I mean? Like wink, wink. Please ask him the damn question. A lot of these guys, like they'll ask, they'll question stuff on Twitter, and they never ask him in the presser, and it just drives me nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they beat reporters got to tune that fine or toe that fine line of access,
right?
and not
like there's
and
a
not
professional
being,
relationship.
Who was the guy that we always had? What's his name?
Chris Thomason.
He didn't give a shit.
No,
and honestly, I think
Zimmer hated him. I think Zimmer hated him.
He did make a comment at I think towards the end there, but of his career. But Judd, I don't think he was ever afraid to ask a question.
Yeah, I think so.
But that was in camp. I don't think he goes to the games, or he goes to the games, the home games. I don't think he goes to the road games though.
Correct.
But yeah,
funny story about Judd, real quick. He was at that Colts game a couple years ago, the biggest comeback in NFL history. And it was so bad at halftime that Phil Mackey and Dex texted him and said, come back to the studio, leave the game. We're going to do a therapy session. We're going to start up our post game at halftime to get Vikings fans through this. And then during the second half of that game, they're doing a live show. And the Vikings pull off the win in overtime, and Judd is sitting there just staring at the game, dumbfounded, and almost looked pissed off. And he was like, I can't believe you guys got me to leave that game. He missed the greatest comeback in NFL history.
So I went back and watched it. I went back and watched it because obviously it plays recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can attest that Judd was, every time we scored, it looked like a little bit of his soul was leaving his body.
Yeah.
And that's why I can tell Judd's a true fan. Not to throw too much shade at Mackey, but Mackey's looked fucking happy as shit. He looked happy as shit that we were getting our ass beat. And I think the fact that he called him in to do the rant show at halftime, I think there was a point there. Even if we lose by one, I'm still up. Or if we lose barely, if we come back and we barely lose, I'm still pissed about Cousins and the way he played. I'm like, dude, no, be fucking ecstatic that we're making this comeback. This is actually an amazing thing. But definitely, I can attest that Judd his soul was leaving his body. Janik Eckhart, that was his first game that he saw. You know Janik Eckhart?
Yannick, yeah.
Janik Eckhart.
That was his first game.
It was his first game. Dusty Baker invited him to come to a game, and he didn't leave at halftime. And he stayed and watched that.
I didn't know that.
My
That's
co-host,
awesome.
Justin Taylor, I had a co-host, Justin Taylor, went to that game. He took his kid to the game and decided it was his first, he decided because he brought his kid that he would just stay the whole game and watch the comeback. I called him on his car. He was driving home, and just the experiences people had of, and it was Judd of all people that didn't stay to the end of that game. I could just see that he felt like he missed a piece of history, and I could totally see how big of a fan he is in that moment. He wish he didn't do it.
I got to wrap up this show because I got to get going here. But before we go, I want you to power rank the teams remaining in the playoffs who you would want to see the Super Bowl. Okay. And we'll
Who
start
I
from
want.
who you want. So we're going to start from last and go to first. I'll go first. So while you pull it up and look at the teams here. So lastly, I would say the Lions. The Lions fans have been ruthless. They've been jagoffs this year. I don't want to see the Lions win the Super Bowl. It's going to be a long offseason of hearing their shit if they win the Super Bowl. Next, the Eagles. Should
we alternate?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you
definitely Lions.
Okay, so we agree.
We're agreeing on that one. Now your turn.
Well, I'll stick with the Eagles then. I just hate that fan base. They won one recently in our stadium. I don't need to see them win another one. I hate Sirianni, smug coach. So don't want to see the Eagles win a Super Bowl.
I mean, I like Jalen Hurts because what type of person he is. Mm-hmm. But I do not. The Eagles definitely would be my second least team I would want to see win the Super Bowl.
So we're tied so far. We got the same thinking. So why don't you take
100%.
the next one that you would not like to see? I bet I got a guess here. I'm going to say
next one.
Yeah. I think you're going to say the Chiefs. Am I right?
100% Chiefs.
Yeah. Just Chiefs. Nobody wants to see a three-peat.
Yeah, I don't want. I don't mind dynasties. You know why I don't mind dynasties? Because they've won a Super Bowl, and it keeps other teams from winning Super Bowls. Like when the Eagles won one, that means that was the first one. That means there was another team that won a Super Bowl before we did. Part of the reason why I have Lions at 8.
I hear you. Yep. So, who's next?
You said Chiefs too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Lions, Eagles, and then Chiefs. Let's see. Who else would I not want to see? I would see the Bills, just because, just like you said, that's another team that hasn't won it before, right? So
yeah,
keep more teams on our list when they show the graphic of who hasn't won a Super Bowl yet, and it's us, the Lions, the Bengals, the Bills.
But they've been around longer than this team, the Texans. Hell no, do I not want the Texans to win a Super Bowl for we do. So Texans, definitely 100%.
So then we have it down to the Ravens, Rams, Commanders, and that's it. Ravens, Rams, Commanders. You know what?
Well,
I'm gonna say Commanders. Nothing really against them, but no, I'll say Commanders. It's just, for me personally, I would like to see the Ravens win it. I'd like to see Lamar get his Super Bowl. And when it comes down to the Rams versus the Commanders, the Rams just won one recently. And but I think if the Rams won it, it'd mean a lot to that city right now who's just being devastated by the fires. So that's why I'll put the Commanders before the Rams and the Ravens.
So I'll be the Bills. I'll be the Bills next because they haven't won one yet. Although I don't mind them, and I want the Bills to play the Vikings in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Last man standing gets eliminated from the NFL.
Yeah. And that leaves us with the Ravens as the team that I guess I would least mind seeing.
I have the Rams and Ravens left. And the Commanders. I have 3 left.
Oh, I thought we were alternating. Sorry. I misunderstood the assignment there.
Yeah, it was alternating. I did the Texans, you did the Bills.
I thought we were making one list, though. So I wasn't using some of the teams because you chose them, but that's okay. That's all right, guys. No. We didn't plan the segment. My bad.
So I was Bills, and then the next. Oh, so I'll finish where I was at. You can redo yours. So starting out, Lions, no. Eagles, no. I think I went Chiefs next. You did that. I said Texans. and then I did Bills, and then the third to last one I would go with the Ravens. Yeah, because I'm going underdog, but I don't mind Ravens winning the Super Bowl.
We're pretty much linked together, like on our thought process here.
And then I guess the second to last would be the Commanders, and number one the Rams. And honestly, it hasn't anything to do with the fire. It has everything to do with Stafford winning and sticking to the Lions again.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Fucking amazing.
That'd be fun. Yeah, wouldn't care at all. And then you know what? We get to say, oh, we got beat by the Super Bowl champion, whatever.
Yeah, and that's always good. And they won a Super Bowl already, so I don't mind them winning one.
Yeah. All right, guys, I got to bounce. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will have another episode next week. We plan on going Tuesday. We'll do another live next week.
Yeah, why not?
Sure. We'll probably go down to one show. We'll talk about it with production meetings, but probably one show a week for now in the off season.
Yeah, and we'll make it live.
We'll get some free agency primers, some mock drafts. We'll have some fun with the off season stuff.
We can do it.
Hopefully break down a Lions loss against the Commanders next week.
Let's do that. Go Commanders. My director is Commanders. I go into his office because we always got to come in and ask questions about particular clients. And I go in and I go, do not talk to me about football today. But before the game on Monday night, before I left work, I go in there and we're talking and he goes, all right, I'm rooting for the Commanders. You got to root for the Vikings. He goes, yes, until we play each other in the NFC title game. And then if you guys win, you're fired, he says to me.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy. I love him. It's good to have a good boss. But Commanders, let's go. And I had Daniels as my number one QB coming out of the draft.
Yeah,
I have number one, so I'm rooting for him.
All my patients were super nice to me today. Like, a bunch of these people are Bears fans, and they were just like, "Oh, sorry about your Vikings, man." Like, they were super nice though. They're like, "We were pulling." I
have no problem with Bears fans. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to a Bears fan, we talk football.
Yeah.
But online with the Lions and the Packers fans, they're insufferable.
Crazy. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week. Skol.